Hi, welcome back, everybody. This is Erica Miller with People from Cleveland Are Dope, and I have another great featured person from Cleveland. Her name is Kim Nickerson, and she is an architect and the owner of KN Design near Dallas, Texas. Kim is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and we met when we were freshmen at Hampton University way back in the day. We stayed in the same dorm, and we didn't know each other before we got to school, but we realized we were both from Cleveland, so we had that connection, and she's a wonderful person, and I can't wait for you to hear more about her and her career as an architect. So, without further ado, Kim, welcome to People from Cleveland Are Dope. And thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Erica. I'm glad to be here and I'm so glad to see you and talk to you.
I know it's been too long.
Yes.
Okay. um, all right. So I like to talk to everybody about where you grew up in Cleveland. So, Kim, what neighborhood did you grow up in or neighborhood?
I grew up in several neighborhoods. I started out, I was born off of 147th Street and Kinsman, um, near AJ Rickoff Elementary School. And that is where I was born. And I was there until I was about 4 years old. And then we moved to the Lee and Harvard area near high school. Yay! Young. I went to Beehive Elementary on the corner of Lee and Miles Road. So I went to kindergarten, first grade there. And then we moved to Shaker and I lived near off of Chagrin and Lee Road. And then another neighborhood that I lived in, after my parents got divorced, we moved back in with my grandparents, and they lived over near Shaker Square. So that was another great part of Shaker that I lived in. And then thankfully, when my mom got remarried, we moved up to the right near the University Heights area, right by John Carroll University on Fairmount and Green Road. So that's where I finished up and attended Shaker Heights High School and graduated in 1989. And that was the last neighborhood that I lived in. So we moved around a lot, but I enjoyed all of the neighborhoods I grew up in.
Okay. When you were a kid, where did you like to hang out?
Oh, I loved hanging out at Shaker Square. I loved hanging out at Randall Park Mall. That was the pinnacle of being cool. If you were cool, you were at Randall Park Mall on a Saturday afternoon, and I loved hanging out there. My mom didn't always want to take me because she worked at Warrensville Heights High School, and she didn't want to be around her students on the weekend when she was there with them all week. So I had to beg her to go, and thankfully she was a shopper. So I convinced her, hey, mom, don't you need a new belt? Don't you need some shoes? Um, don't you want to go to Orange Julius? Don't you want to go to Friendlies? So
Uh-huh.
that would convince her. But that's where I loved hanging out was Randall Park Mall.
I did too. And, we lived fairly close to it. So, yeah, that was our Saturday spot.
Hmm.
And then we went skating on Saturday nights at Southgate a lot of
Yeah, right. I forgot about that. I loved going there. I went there a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. That was our weekend.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun growing up in Cleveland. You know, it, I have fond memories.
Oh yeah, me too. It just felt so safe, so much safer than it is now. And it felt like you could just go somewhere and have a good time and not worry about any drama or danger. It just felt like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of worries.
No.
and it was great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So when I met you at Winona Hall at
Hey.
Hampton University,
Woo.
you were an architecture student,
Yes.
and I remember you always had a motto
Yeah.
of some sort in the dorm, and I thought that was so awesome that that was the career you chosen for yourself.
Yes.
It looked like it was a lot of fun, and I knew you had to be smart to do that. So I admired you for that.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So what made you want to become an architect?
I, from the time that I was over in the Lee Harvard area, had a ton of Legos. I always had Legos. I asked for Legos for my birthday, for Christmas. I liked putting things together. I liked looking at the house that was on the front cover of the Legos box and trying to put it together. I was always, yeah, I was always interested in houses. Um, my mom we laugh about this now, but when my mom would take me to a friend's house and it was a new house, or not a new house, but a house that I had never been to, I would just start walking around in these people's houses, Erica, and back here. But I really wanted to see what the house looked like. I wanted to know where all the rooms were, how it was laid out. And I think she realized a few years later that I wasn't being nosy. I was really into design and I wanted to see how things were put together. So that's when my mom was encouraged me to draw more. I would sketch a lot, and I eventually went to a summer college program that taught me about architecture. And that's when I knew that I wanted to major in architecture. But I've always been interested in buildings. Every time we go on vacation, my mom would get me to take a picture of everyone. And if they were standing in front of a nice building, I was taking a picture of the building, not them. So that's when they really realized, okay, she's going to major in architecture.
Wow. So you really, really, from early on, knew that that was your thing.
I don't know that I knew. I think I was just drawn to it. And I really didn't think about it much until I was in high school. Although I would do sketches and draw houses, I just thought that was normal. And it wasn't until I got to high school that they had drafting classes that I took. And that's when I really knew that that was something that I wanted to do.
Okay. Um, who were some of your biggest influences while you were growing up in Cleveland?
My biggest influence, there were so many, mainly my mom,
Mm,
because as she transitioned from a married mom um, of two to a divorced mom of two, um, having to go through that transition as a um, high school PE teacher, and just going through a divorce in general is rough. But to go through it when you have high school students who kind of want to know what's going on and why your name is changing and why you're moving, it was really hard for her. And she really stayed strong. She trusted in God. She put her faith in God. And that was something that I saw firsthand, how she had her own personal relationship with God. And she didn't focus on the bad things. She just tried to make me and my sister feel as comfortable as we could and feel like we didn't skip a beat when it came to moving in with my grandparents and my great grandmother. So it actually felt better that I was surrounded by family, and I all of a sudden was in this multi-generational home learning things about cooking and sewing that I had never learned before. So it was actually a great adjustment. So I really applaud my mom for staying focused through the turmoil of divorce and really providing a stable household for me and my sister. My other role models or influences were my great grandmother, who lived through the Depression and had 6 children and migrated like many African American people did from the South in the 1900s. And she persevered. Both of my grandfathers were World War II veterans. They were in segregated infantries or armies. And one of them ended up graduating from Wilberforce University, and the other ended up opening a dry cleaners near the 55th and Scoville area across from East Tech High School. And that was my first job. My first boss was my grandfather. So I definitely looked up
Okay.
to him. Yeah, I definitely looked up to him. He worked hard and worked in the factories and at the motor companies in Cleveland until he could finally open up his first dry cleaners and laundromat. And so learning from him how to treat people and how to be respectful, he really instilled a lot of really great values in me. All of them did.
Mhm.
So
And you had
those
a
are my,
great, oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just going to say that those are my top role models.
Okay. Well, you had a great role model for an entrepreneur too, but you eventually became.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
That's really cool. My first job was working for a family member who had their own business too. So
Oh,
yeah,
what did,
I worked at Baskin Robbins.
oh, that's fun. Did
Yeah, my
ice
dad's cousin owned it, so
Oh,
he gave
good.
me my first job.
Where was it located?
It was in East Cleveland
Yeah.
on the corner of Euclid and Superior.
Okay, I know exactly where that is. That's
Yep.
good.
It was a long way
That
from home, but yeah.
Yeah. Did you eat
First
ice cream every day?
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would. I hope you
I,
did.
I mean, I probably didn't work too many times without eating some ice cream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's
at
too t
some point,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's
So,
good. That's a fun job.
yeah. So, shout out to those Cleveland entrepreneurs who influenced us.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, so eventually you went to college in Texas. So, tell us about that.
Yes, so I started out at Hampton University, and we started our freshman year together at in Winona Hall. Architecture was a great fit for me. Unfortunately, the architecture program at Hampton at the time was having some accreditation issues. And
Oh,
at the same time that we started at Hampton, my parents moved to Dallas because my bonus dad he decided to go to theology school, and he chose a school here in Dallas. So they moved here, I moved to Hampton, and as I continued through my education at Hampton, by my sophomore year, I wasn't really enjoying the architecture program because there were some things going on with the faculty in architecture and the department. And so I chose to transfer after halfway through my junior year. I love Hampton University, and since then the architecture program has skyrocketed as far as how well they're doing, how much they've grown, and how much the department has changed for the better. But I ended up transferring to the University of Texas at Arlington. It is a school right outside of Dallas, and it has an amazing architecture program. As soon as I started there, I felt like I fit right in. The teachers were willing to helped me bridge the gap between the styles of architecture that I learned at Hampton versus at UT Arlington. And I learned so much in such a short period of time. I ended up graduating from there in 1995 with my Bachelor of Science degree in architecture. And the bonus blessing of it all is that during that time, I met my husband, Rob, who's a Dallas native. And so we met, we were friends for a long time. And so it was just a great experience. UT Arlington is a wonderful school, but I always hold Hampton near and dear to me. I'm already planning to go to homecoming this fall. So
Oh,
we're
that's
really,
great.
yeah, I always stay in touch with all of my friends from Hampton. So Hampton is always going to be my home by the sea. But I got a great education at UT Arlington. I kind of wish I could have both, the best of both worlds by having both the architecture school at UTA and then the social life and the cultural experiences that I had at Hampton from feeling like I was just at home among my fellow brothers and sisters. But the experience overall is something that I wouldn't trade for the world. And I'm glad that everything worked out the way it did.
Good. That's wonderful. Your husband was also in the architecture program?
Yes, he is also an architect. He was in the architecture program, so that's where we met. And yeah, so it worked out really well.
Wow. Oh, okay. And now you're a mom of two?
Yes, I have an 18-year-old son named Drew. He is a freshman at the University of Oklahoma, and he is studying aerospace engineering. That's what he says he wants to do now. But he's definitely that type who was a lot like me, where he likes putting things together and building things. So he has an engineer's mind. And I have a 9-year-old named Ari. He is my sweetheart. He's definitely into Legos too. I buy him Legos all the time. So it seems like history is repeating itself. So I have two kids. They keep me very busy. I love being a boy mom. And Rob, my husband, balances out my little quirks and gets me to relax a little bit more and realize that boys are going to be boys and they're going to be messy and loud and crazy and to just go with it. So
That's beautiful. What did you do once you graduated?
once I graduated from UT Arlington, I immediately got a job with a firm that specialized in office buildings and large commercial buildings. One of the first projects that I worked on, and this is dating me, this is showing my age, is the Blockbuster headquarters. Millennials don't know what Blockbuster is. So we worked on this huge facility for Blockbuster, and I thought this is going to be so cool. And little did we know that less than 20 years later, it would be pretty much non-existent. So I really enjoyed working on commercial architecture, but eventually I started leaning towards residential. And that's what I do now. So I've always wanted to design homes. So that's something that was always in the back of my mind to do.
Okay, so what made you want to start your own company and when did you start?
I started my own company when my oldest son, Drew, was about 5 months old. I think once I became a mom and realized the balance of being a mom, being a wife, and working was really hard, and that all of the women in my family made it seem so easy, but it was not. I realized that I wanted to do more design, especially in residential architecture, which I was not in the corporate environment yet on
Mhm.
my own. And a lot of people were asking me all the time, oh, hey, I need my kitchen redone. I need to add on to my house. My mother-in-law is coming to live with us and we need an extra bedroom. Um, I need my bathroom redone. I want a bigger shower. I don't want my tub anymore. I want a different tub. I want a different layout. So I would start doing these projects for people and it became fun. I enjoyed it. So I started my LLC and, or no, I started doing a DBA and then I started my LLC. But I really enjoyed doing little projects on the weekends, not every weekend, but maybe once a month for people who are looking to renovate their home or add on to it. And it just became something that I did more often and I really enjoyed it. It was a creative outlet because I know that for a lot of us professionals, we think we know what corporate life will be like, and we think we'll be able to fulfill all of our dreams and desires of being able to be creative and um, have freedom to do what we want to do. But that's not always the case.
Mhm.
And so I felt like I needed to create that with my company by being able to do what I wanted to do and to help clients and to help my friends and family members improve their space that they live in. So that's how everything got started.
Wow. Um, I was looking at some statistics about um, architects, and I realized that a little over 2% of architects are Black,
Right.
and women make up like 23% of the profession. What
Yeah.
is the most difficult part of being an architect as a Black woman?
The most difficult part is not being surrounded by people who look like me and feeling that I have to be the example for my community and
Mm,
African Americans. Um, based on how I react to things, how I look, how I dress. I feel almost like I have felt at times as if I was in a fish tank or a fish bowl, that everyone was looking at me thinking, okay, is this how Black people act, or is this how African American women react to things? Um, I also felt like I had to prove myself a lot. I think um, one person who I listen to on the radio, who I love on talk radio, is Joe Madison. And he always talks about how we are underestimated, undervalued, and marginalized. And I have experienced all of those things, from people asking me if I'm African American, thinking that I'm some other nationality,
like you
to
must be something else, right? Mhm.
because you know, otherwise I'm this Black unicorn, in architecture. Who wants to get, who know, people don't know many Black women or Black people in general who are in architecture. So they start to think, oh, are you multicultural? I've been asked if I was, what was I asked? I was asked if I was Polynesian one time. And I was like, who, where, who? I haven't, I've never been to Hawaii. No. So that's the hardest part, is kind of being an I guess, unsolicited, what's the word? I would say representative for our community. Um, and then feeling like I have to really be careful about the way I say things, the way I respond to things, because otherwise I'm feeding into this stereotype that they um, have of me, that some people have of me, not all. So it's just been difficult. It wasn't until maybe 10 years after I started working in architecture that I worked with one other African American woman. And when we met each other, we didn't even know each other. We just gave each other a hug in the hallway. And we were like Celie and Nettie, like,
Uh-huh.
hands clapping. We were so excited to work together. And it just felt like I had someone else to bounce things off of. And it's so common to code switch just because you don't feel like people really understand you or get you
Oh,
as
yeah.
an African woman. And so you have to speak in a certain way so that you sound intelligent, because otherwise people don't think that you're smart enough to do the job you do. So it felt good to just go to lunch with someone who you could just talk about things that happen in our community without having to explain things. So it's been difficult. Unfortunately, there haven't been many of us who have worked in architecture or are in architecture. So I know very few Black women, but it didn't discourage me from continuing to be in the industry that I've always wanted to be in.
We persevere.
We do.
Are there any professional organizations that may have been helpful at all?
For a little while, I was in NOMA, which is the National Organization of Minority Architects. My husband is a part of that organization. They have chapters all across the United States, and I think they really do a good job to connect people. It's really good for networking, and it's just a great way for us to talk about some of the frustrations we have in corporate America as African Americans who are not there aren't very many of us in the profession. So it's something that we can where we have that camaraderie and we can just talk and be real with each other and give each other advice. So I'm a part of that. I used to be a part of the American Institute of Architects. After becoming a mom, it got busy. It was hard for me to continue with that, but that's a great organization as well. Um, and that's pretty much it for architecture.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get into your day-to-day life as an architect. Uh, what's your typical day like?
My typical day starts out with looking at what all of the projects are that have come through. Since I do residential architecture for a home builder, um, I work with K. Hovnanian Homes. It is a nationwide company. They
Heard of them.
build, yeah, oh, good. Homes. So I am the architectural team lead for our team. And there is a manager and a director above me who help handle national product, but I work on local product right now. So we look at a list of all of the what we call site-specific homes that come in. So for instance, if you were interested in building a home, that is a site-specific project where we draw everything from top to bottom, starting with the plot plan, which shows how the house will fit on your lot, to doing all of the construction drawings that are needed to build your house. And then we order engineering. So our engineers take our drawings and then they create their drawings so that you have framing, you have your foundation, you have your electrical, your plumbing, everything you need to build a house. So we do that several times a day. We also help with revising homes. So you know how you walk into a home and you say, oh, I wouldn't put the bathroom there. I think I would want this here. Or I don't know if I like game rooms or media rooms anymore. So we listen to what you say. If we hear feedback and get surveys from people where they say, we don't like media room, we don't really want media rooms anymore. There's no need for um, a study, we take them out. So another part of my job is revising, making plan changes and revising homes based on what people want. Because if people don't want something that's in your house, guess what? They're not going to buy it. So we really try to keep up with what um, America wants, what people want when they buy a home. So that's my typical day, is doing specific homes and then making renovations or making revisions rather to plans to make them better and more marketable.
Okay. Well, that is very interesting. I worked at new home builder. It was like a temp job. And I loved the way that you could pick different options. Like you
Yeah.
can make a room a bedroom, or you could make it a loft, or you can make it a retreat, or a media room, or just so
Mhm.
what kind of trends are you seeing? Like what's changed over time in your profession since you started?
Since my profession has started, I have seen houses open up so much more. Once I got into residential architecture, which was in around 2003, um, all of a sudden people wanted spaces where they could be in the kitchen cooking and they could see what was on the TV in the great room or in the family room. They didn't want to feel isolated. They didn't want to feel blocked off by walls that kept them from seeing what their kids were doing if they were playing in the family room. They wanted an open plan concepts. So homes have drastically changed on the inside where you don't really have walls in the kitchen anymore. You have a few that, of course, hold your appliances, but everything is open. So you can see the family room, you can see the breakfast room. It's all one big room now. And that's the biggest thing that has changed so far in the last few years. And people seem to like it. You have nice big islands. People know that every time you have a gathering, I don't know if you've noticed this, but everyone ends up in the kitchen. And so instead of being in this tiny little kitchen where there are walls surrounding it, we just thought, well, let's just make the kitchen a whole part of the living area, which extends to the family room and the breakfast room. So that's what I'm seeing the most. That's the biggest change that has occurred, is just having a big open concept.
Mhm. Is there a dream project that you would like to work on?
Huh. Um, I think I would like to work on, and this is outside of residential. I think I would like to work on a an event facility. I'd love to design an event space where you could have weddings, birthday parties, because there's so many opportunities that you have for that. There's so many people who want to get married in one place and have their reception and their wedding in one place. And I'm seeing that a lot more these days. So I would love to do something like that. I would love to design an event space. That would probably be a dream job outside of just maybe a celebrity home.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really cool. Uh,
Yeah.
because there's stuff like I watch HGTV all the time, so I'm always looking at different designs and some of the people who have shows are like
I know.
this person does everything great, it seems like, and this
Yeah.
person like you can almost tell what's coming sometimes. So I
Right.
think that's yeah, I love it. I love to watch creative people work.
Yes. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And it's like building is fascinating to me. I don't know that I would ever, you know, want to work in construction, but like that whole process of watching something being built from the ground up is fascinating to me, and you are an instrumental part of that process.
It's fun. You're right. It's really exciting to see what you draw on paper turn into something that you can walk into and experience. It's almost magical. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great process. And I watch HGTV a lot too. I enjoy learning from the different designers because they do things that are different from what I do, and their process is different. Sometimes I like seeing the process. Other times I just like to see the final product. And even though their styles may be different, I like the thought that they put into it. So I enjoy HGTV a lot too.
Mhm. Do you have any advice for a young person who is considering becoming an architect?
Yes, I would say draw as much as you can, take as many art classes as you can because it's still important to know how to hand sketch. You hand sketch to your clients, with your clients on different ideas as you brainstorm. So even though everything has gone to AutoCAD, which I also recommend learning, it is a digital design tool that we use to do architectural construction drawings. That's really important to learn, but it's really important to learn how to draw and how to um, go into a building and know what's where and how to name some of the different design elements. So learn as much as you can, read books on architecture, take classes if you can, if they have an architecture camp, I would recommend that. And when you travel, go to different buildings, go to different colleges, go to college campuses, go into the buildings and ask yourself how you feel in that building. Why do you like it? What do you like about the materials? How do you feel when you're in the building? Do you feel like you're in a cramped space or do you feel like it's beautiful and majestic? Um, so just learn as much as you can and ask as many questions as you can and find people who are in the architecture industry to learn from, whether that's your parents' friends or your friends' parents. Find someone who you can be your mentor, that can be your mentor.
That's great advice. Really great advice. Um, so do you go back to Cleveland often?
I do, like you, about maybe about once a year for weddings, unfortunately, sometimes for funerals. But yes, I do go back and I miss it. I miss my corned beef sandwiches.
I was just about to ask, is there any place you have to go to eat when you go to Cleveland or any place that you love to visit when you go back home?
Well, I don't eat beef anymore, so I don't do the corned beef sandwiches, but they smell really good when my mom and other family members get them. I would say yours truly. I miss yours truly. I
Oh, yes.
love either the one in Shaker Square or on Chagrin I go to because I love the not so fries. So I go there all the time. It's like food. So I
Got a
go there.
great spot in Cleveland for sure. Um, well, I think this has been a great interview. I have loved talking with you and learning more about um, how you got to this point in your career. And I applaud you for owning your own business. And um, it's never easy navigating through life when you're one of the only ones doing what you do. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And
Um,
I'm sorry, I would say also to the girls who are interested or anyone interested in architecture, especially African American children, don't worry about the fact that there aren't that many of us in the industry. Do what you love. If you're passionate about architecture, do it. But I would also encourage looking at going to HBCUs so that you can be surrounded by people who are interested in architecture. And that way it makes that transition into the corporate world a little bit easier because you have lots of friends who look like you who are pursuing architecture also.
that's great. So if anybody is listening who is interested in this profession, take Kim's advice. That's great advice.
Uh, I still keep in touch with my friends from Hampton who were in architecture. We all still keep in touch. We have a great bond. So it's definitely a benefit to start out in architecture at an HBCU if that's your dream.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I would always encourage young people to consider HBCUs.
Hmm. Definitely.
Like you feel like there's really somebody there that's looking out for you.
Yes. And
Mm.
we helped each other. We were in the studio late at night. You remember me being in Bemis all
I
night long?
do. Oh yes, I remember that name.
Yeah, Bemis Hall, and we helped each other. We didn't compete with each other. And I've been in spaces and others at other schools where it was competitive and people didn't want to help you. But at Hampton, we helped each other in every aspect. So that is a benefit.
Hmm. Definitely.
It, yeah.
Okay, well, I won't take up any more of your time. I really appreciate you talking with us today, and it's just been
Aw.
great catching up and seeing your success. That's the whole point of People from Cleveland Are Dope, is to highlight the great things that people who come from Cleveland do, and all of the ways that we shine.
Yes, definitely, including you.
Thank you.
Thank you for providing this platform for us because Cleveland is a small circle and, we hold Cleveland near and dear to our hearts. So thank you so much for providing this type of platform for us. I appreciate it, Erica.
Welcome. You're welcome. Um, so if you guys need an architect and you're in Texas, do you ever work outside of Dallas?
I do sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
actually working on a house in Garfield Heights
Oh, right on.
in Cleveland.
I
Yeah.
love it. Okay,
Yes.
that's wonderful. That's great. Okay, Kim,
Yeah.
it's been great. Um, you could stay on for a second when we leave, just so I can say goodbye to you. But thank you again for coming on today. This has been fantastic, and I wish
Thank you.
you much success.
Thank you, Erica. Likewise.
Thank you.